Thank you. Okay. I am so happy to be here today. First of all, I'm really so pleased to visit with Danny Donahue, with Mary Sullivan, with Kathy Garrison, with whom I serve on the International Executive Board, to see, again, good friends, Joe McMullen, Denise Berkeley, whom I love, and many faces here of people who I got to know at the International Convention, where I found out that when I'm in a fight, I want CSEA on my side. And a great team we made there. I'm also very happy to be here because I just came from our convention, which was held in Springfield, Illinois. Have any of you ever been to Springfield, Illinois? Anybody been there? Okay, you know my problem. It is in the middle of a cornfield. Many cornfields. There is nothing to see for miles and miles and miles. So I'm so jealous of this beautiful spot where you all have gathered to have your convention. Now, Illinois and New York don't have that many things in common. We're in the Midwest, we got cornfields. You're on the East Coast and this beautiful scenery. But I can tell you one unfortunate thing that we have in common. We both have Democratic governors who have proven themselves a traitor to everything the Democratic Party is supposed to stand for. And I want to say to you that the fact that the Democratic governors of two of the biggest, most important states in the United States of America can be taking out after working people in the way that your governor is and Pat Quinn is in Illinois, I can tell you that that is emblematic of the fact that, sisters and brothers, we are living in the toughest times that we have ever confronted in our lifetime. The toughest times for working families. We're facing the toughest challenges we have ever faced. We are living in a time of the radical redistribution of wealth. You hear people say, oh, the socialists, they want to redistribute wealth. No, it's the capitalists who want to redistribute wealth. They're taking it out of our pockets. Right now, the top 1% in this country control 20 to 30% of the wealth. The top 20% control 87% of the wealth. That means for the remaining 80%, that's us, there's 13% left to go around. Right now, the average worker in this country earns less today in real dollars than he or she earned in 1970. Less in real dollars. Poverty, since 1988, we're supposed to be fighting poverty. Some of you will remember we had a war on poverty in this country. In 1988, poverty was at 11.6% in our country. Today, 15% of the American people are living below the poverty level. That's a scandal in the richest country on the face of the earth. Since coming out of this recession, the income of the top 1% has gone up by 31%. The income of the rest of us has gone up. Now listen to this number. I can hardly say it. I'm not a math whiz. The income of the rest of us has gone up by 0.04%. That's not 1%. That's not 0.4%, I think, if I'm right. Any math people help me. That's 0.04%. Their income went up 31%. That's what's happening, sisters and brothers, in our country today. Now, they want to tell us that this is the right order of things, that it has to be this way or it should be this way. Well, first of all, because these rich people, they deserve it, right? They are so super smart. They're so talented. That's why they deserve it. Now, first of all, think about the amount of money these people are making, what you would do to deserve the fact. And by the way, what are some of these companies? We used to know what companies did. The CEO of Level 3 Communications, anybody ever heard of it? Makes last year, for the last year for which his salary was available, $40,708,970 in 1 year. 1 year. The CEO of Activision Blizzard, $64,942,000 in 1 year. The CEO of Oracle, $96,160,000. I lose track of these numbers. $160,000, 696, something like that. You get the picture. In 1 year, okay? Now, supposedly they earned $96 million because they deserve it. They did it. So no, not true. The top 500 paid CEOs in this CEOs in this country, okay, of the top 500, they deserve it, they earn it, they're so talented, they're so special. 112 of those top 500 were the CEOs of Wall Street firms who drove their companies either into bankruptcy or bailout or both. They deserve it. They deserve it. 38 of them were convicted of massive fraud. That doesn't count the ones that were charged. 39 of them were fired for incompetence. Fired for incompetence. The head of Compaq Computers was rated one of the 15 worst CEOs in American history. And when he was fired, he got $410 million on his way out the door. When we get fired, what do we get? A kick in the pants, right? If we're lucky. If we're lucky. So that's one argument. They deserve it. Do they deserve it? No. Then you hear the argument, oh, we have to give all this money, we have to shift all this wealth to the top because they're the job creators. You heard that one? They're the job creators. Sisters and brothers, think about it. Yes, okay, over the past decade, they did create 2.9 million jobs. They did. It just so happens that not one of them was in the United States of America. We're paying these people to ship our jobs overseas. 1.1 million jobs were eliminated in this country. They're not creating jobs. Then we're told, oh, don't pick on them. That's just the politics of resentment. You're trying to stir up class warfare. Why is it that when we're asked to take a pay cut, when they come after our pensions, all we hear is shared sacrifice? But when we come after them, it's class warfare. You want to know about class warfare? There is class warfare, and it's warfare on us. They're coming after us every single day. That's the only class warfare going on in this country. We don't resent. It's not that we just resent somebody getting money. Hey, if they were working hard, they were making money, it's okay with me. But how are they getting their money? 75% of the increase in corporate profits between 2000 and 2007, 75%. It didn't come from all their great innovation, from their great management skills. 75% came from cuts to the wages and benefits of workers. That's how they're making their money. The other way, by the way, that they're making their money is by cheating on their taxes. They don't call it cheating, right? Smart accounting. Smart accounting. That's what they call it. I want to find this. Oh, yeah. Okay, in 2010, this is unbelievable. In 2010, 25 big companies paid their CEOs more than they paid in federal taxes. one guy got more money, and they were all guys, by the way. One guy got more money than that company contributed to the well-being of the United States of America. Think about it. So no, we're not resentful that they do well. We're resentful that they're taking out of our pockets and they're not contributing to the welfare of our country. That's what we resent, sisters and brothers. Now, this would be, I think, an alarming situation under any circumstances. To have this kind of massive redistribution of wealth upward, which is effectively undermining, I'll go so far as to say, risking the destruction of the middle class in our country. Risking the destruction of the middle class in our country. But I want to say this because really the situation is even worse. Because this growing inequality, this concentration of wealth at the top is combined with another development, and it's a very, very important development. We are seeing, along with this incredible concentration of wealth, an incredible concentration of political power in the hands of a very few. And that has to do with two intertwined developments, two very frightening developments. The first is the Supreme Court decision in Citizens United, which has effectively allowed corporations unlimited spending in the political arena. They were already outspending us 11-1. After that decision, it went right up to 15-1, and you can be sure it's going to keep right on going up. But now there's a case, and you know what this Supreme Court is like. There's a case before the Supreme Court right now that, depending on how it rules, would completely do away with campaign finance restrictions on wealthy individuals. So not only could a corporation buy an election, but one single person could buy an election. That, am I making you worried? I hope so, because I'm scared. I'm really scared, okay? Because that is combined with a new development among that corporate elite. You used to have companies that were just in there trying to make sure, not that it was good, I'm not saying it was good, but just looking out for their own interest, okay? Trying to get a tax break, trying to make more money. Now you have a new development with the arrival on the scene symbolized by the Koch brothers, okay? You have a wing of the corporate elite that is not just trying to get more money for itself, that is actively trying to undermine democracy and undermine working people and destroy unions in our country. And that is a very, very frightening development. They have started a web of organizations. The most famous is the Tea Party, but there's others. Americans for Prosperity, have you ever heard of that? I'm sure you have them here. They have innocuous names. We have one called the Illinois Policy Institute. We have one called Watchdog Illinois. I mean, the amount of money, that's just in my state. They've got them here too, I'm sure. Every state in the union. The amount of money that these people, because they have, when you have billions spending millions on your mission, if your mission is to take out working people, if your mission is control, I'm going to use a word, I haven't used it in, I don't know, maybe in my whole life, but I've read it and I know what it is. Sisters and brothers, democracy is in danger in this country because we have a ruling elite that wants to set up a plutocracy. You know what a plutocracy is? Where a handful of people, a small handful of people, control everything that happens in the country. Now, when you have the Koch brothers and their ilk taking out after voting rights, we fought. People died for voting rights in this country, and now we're having to fight that fight all over again? That's a danger. That's a threat to democracy. They're trying to destroy the Affordable Care Act. Hey, it may not be the most perfect law in the world, but there are 47 million people in this country with no health insurance, and you can be damn sure that the people trying to destroy the Affordable Care Act don't have a plan to give health care to one of them, not one of them. coordinated attack from one end of this country to the other on the pensions of public employees, all funded by the Koch brother types, not necessarily by them, but by their ilk to destroy our pensions. They got there telling people public employees have gold-plated pensions. Do they ever mention the proportion of public employees that don't have Social Security? No, they don't ever want to talk about that because, for one thing, they're trying to destroy Social Security too. They don't want people to have any security whatsoever. But the core of their program, the absolute core of their program, is to destroy unions in America, because unions are the only organized force capable of standing up and fighting back against their plan for America. And they particularly want to destroy public sector unions because they also want to destroy the public sector. They want to marketize everything, charter schools, privatize trash collection. You've all been there. We've been there, and we know what it's like. That's their program for America. So public sector unions have a giant target on our back. Hey, we're the last bastion of pensions, decent retirement security for American workers. We're the defenders, the most vigorous defenders of public services in this country. And we're organized unions. We're the greatest force in the American labor movement today. Where would the labor movement be if there were no public sector unions? So we, sisters and brothers, have the biggest, boldest target painted on our backs. They are out after us big time, and believe me, it's only going to get worse from here. You know about Wisconsin. I don't have to tell anybody in this room what happened there and the horrible, horrible defeat, let's be honest, that we suffered there. Indiana, right-to-work law passed in Indiana. Michigan, right-to-work law. And Michigan is instructive. I'll tell you why. Think about this. This is what they did in Michigan. Not just pass a right-to-work law in the heart of the UAW, great union state, but they actually passed a law in Michigan that if you work for a school district, teacher, school bus driver, school employee, no matter what you do for a school district, if you want to join a union and you sign a card and you check, dues check off, you can take my dues out of each paycheck like every one of us do and all our members do. In Michigan, the law prohibits the school district from deducting those dues. So they want to make every union have to go around and hand collect dues from every single member. What's that mean? You know what that looks like. You know what that does. Yes, maybe we can do it, but when you're spending all your time collecting dues, what are all the things you're not spending your time doing? All of the political action, all of the organizing, all of the mobilization, because you got to be out there every single week trying to collect dues. These are the kind of schemes that they're coming up with. You know about the paycheck deception, trying to prevent us from being able to have checkoff for our people program. All of these things are out there. We have a guy right now. Illinois is considered, quote unquote, the bluest state in the country. We have a Democratic governor, a Democratic legislature. I won't go there to tell you those horror stories, but believe me, still called a blue state. The leading Republican contender for governor in our state is a multi-millionaire, probably billionaire hedge fund guy who made all his money off of public pension fund investments. That's how he made his fortune. His campaign, the centerpiece of his campaign is to wipe out public employee pensions and, most importantly, to destroy public employee unions. That's the centerpiece of the campaign that he's running right now in Illinois. Yes, Bruce Rauner, that's exactly right. So, and that's another story. I'm not going to go there. Ben's got me. I've got to stay in my time frame here. Many stories I could tell you. Okay, so where is all this taking us? What is this union-free world that they're trying to create for us? They want workers entirely at the mercy of bosses. That's their vision of the world. They want citizens entirely at the mercy of a small corporate elite. They want a workforce, and think about it, when you think of what you see around you in our country today, they want a workforce that's contractual, contingent, and part-time, right? Where people don't have real jobs in the way that we always knew them. And what are those contractual, contingent jobs? No benefits, right? In many cases, no Social Security. Target, Walmart, the Walmartization of America, no fixed hours. You know, people who work in those places, they don't know from one week to the next what their hours are going to be. How do you have a family? How do you live a life under those circumstances? Even accountants and lawyers are becoming temp jobs now. It's not just low-wage jobs. And young people are among the hardest hit. The United States has the lowest share of employed young people anywhere in the developed world. Young people 25 to 34 years old in this country have a 26.2 unemployment rate. What does that tell you about the future of our country when our young people can't get jobs? And now what's happening? They're trying to make older people work longer. New poll came out recently. Did you see it? It's something like some majority of people think they'll have to work in their retirement years. Now those older people, they're taking those part-time contingent jobs. What are the young people going to do then? When old people don't have any pensions and they have to keep working, there's really not going to be any space for young people. So I recently read about something that to me summed this up so well, where we're headed in this country. Anybody ever hear of TaskRabbit? TaskRabbit? Okay, TaskRabbit is a e-job system, okay? You sign up for TaskRabbit, and basically companies go on this website, or individuals, wealthy people, can go to this website and hire you. TaskRabbit has 15,000 people signed up looking for jobs. No unemployment insurance, no workers' compensation, no Social Security, and the way it works, those people have to bid when a job goes up. So somebody is always underbidding to pay them less. TaskRabbit. Now, sisters and brothers, I have in my backyard a rabbit. I mean, it's not my rabbit, it just happens to have occupied my backyard, okay, and apparently many others around my neighborhood. Every night when I come home late, I see the rabbit. And what do I see? I see a little animal that is desperately foraging for food. It's looking everywhere, trying to find something that it can nibble on. And you know what else I see? When I come in and I slam the gate, that rabbit runs. It's fearful. It's scared to death. It's running off. And if it should somehow get trapped some way, it's huddled up. Do you ever see a rabbit? It's huddled up. It's shivering. Sisters and brothers, that's their vision of America. That's what they want us to become, like frightened, terrified rabbits. And we cannot let that happen. When I started, I said we've never lived in tougher times. And so the fact is, we have to be tougher than ever. I'm not telling anybody in this room anything. I said the same thing to our members at our convention that we just had. We have a lot of members who inherited the union, who just assume it's there, who think I paid my dues and that's all I've got to do. We can't survive on those terms. We cannot survive on those terms. I looked at the program that you've been discussing over the past few days, and it's very similar to one that we adopted at our convention. And we phrased it a little differently, and I just want to tell you our phrasing, and I think you'll see how it fits with yours. Because we had a 3-part program. This is what we said: aim higher, go deeper, reach out, okay? When we say aim higher, everybody is telling us you've got too much. You have to give up. Working people have come too far. Public employees are too well off. And we're saying, hell no. Our parents, our grandparents, people who came before us fought and died so we could move forward in the richest country on earth. We're not going backward. We're going to keep on aiming higher, and we're going to keep on going forward. We won't go back. We won't go back. We won't go back. But you know what? It's not enough to say that. And I've been places, I'll be honest, I've been places where I've heard people say that and we all clap and go home. No. That's the second part. The second part, go deeper. Go deeper. Okay? Because a lot of times we have steward structures. We have, and many of you I know we have in our locals, we have one-on-one communication structures. We have to ensure that every single one of our local unions, our units, has a one-on-one communication structure. We learned in Illinois, and again, I'm not going to tell you the whole long story, but 15 months in negotiations with a governor who withheld a pay raise, refused to pay a negotiated pay raise. 15 months in negotiations, 35,000 state employees, we were ready to go out on strike, okay? And the way that we got to that point, that's not easy to take that many people out on strike. And what we found when we got ready to strike, we had been putting out a lot of bulletins. We had been sending out a lot of emails. We had been putting out a lot of newsletters. And we found out that we had not really been in touch with all our members. It is not enough. Now we're all into email, you know. We used to send a newsletter. We used to hand out flyers. Now we hit that button. We send out an email. That is not communication. I'm sorry, it's part of communication, yes. But unless we're talking one-on-one, unless we're explaining to people what we heard, what we know, unless we're making sure that every single one of our members understands what the stakes are and what's happening in our country today, we're not going to be able to make the fight. We were ready. When we did our internal polling, after we talked one-on-one, we could rate 80% of our members were ready to go on strike. 80%, because we had talked to 90% of those 35, talked, Kathy, one-on-one, right? We had talked to 90% of our members. We have to be able to do that. We have to be sure that we have talked to every single member, and every single member understands what the big picture is, what the stakes are, and then what the program is in your local, your fight, whatever it might be. Because I can tell you this, when the, okay, I'm just going to say this, pardon me if I offend anybody. When the shit hits the fan, we got to be ready to move. And the employer, they're going to drop the hammer. They're not going to send us a year's notice. Oh, by the way, I'm going to attack you next year. You better get ready now, you know. When they're coming after us, boom, they're going to lower the boom. And if we haven't laid the groundwork, they're going to be roll right over us. So we got to build every day from here on out. We got to understand if we're not in a fight today, we're going to be in a fight tomorrow. If we're not in a fight tomorrow, we're going to be in a fight in 6 months. If we're not in a fight in 6 months, hey, you're living in some other planet, okay? But and lucky to be there, I grant you, okay? So, third piece, reach out. Aim higher, dig deeper, reach out. And I know this is a big part of the campaign you're discussing here. We can't do it all by ourselves. We cannot. We need other allies in other organizations, and we need to touch our community. We need our communities to understand they take them for granted. They take for granted when it snows that the highway is going to be plowed. You know, they take for granted that if someone needs assistance in an emergency, there's going to be someone there to help them. They take it for granted, and we have to remind them. In our state fight that we had on our state contract, we had businesses all over the state put up signs. We made signs that listed in small letters all the different tasks that our members did, all the different jobs, and we had those in windows all over the state. We stand with state employees, and we need that. We need to be, that sent a powerful message to the politicians, because what do the politicians want to do? They want to isolate us. They want to make it like, oh, those rich public employees over there compared to the rest of you, you know, poor people, and the rich public employees are taking all the money from you. And we have to make sure, one, that people understand the value of the service we provide. Two, a lot of times we have to remind people how, let's be honest, the work is difficult. It can be grinding. It can be grueling. A lot of times we're working incredible amounts of overtime. A lot of times we're doing jobs that most people wouldn't want to do if they knew what they were. So we have to educate the community. We have friends, we have neighbors, we have churches, we have civic groups we're part of, and everywhere we go, we have to ensure that people know we're AFSCME, we're CSEA, this is what we do, and this is why it matters. Carry that message forth. Sisters and brothers, we have to aim higher, go deeper, and reach out. Because at the end of it all, when it comes down to it, it's not just about the survival of our union. It's not just about the survival of working people. It's about the survival of our country as a free, democratic, just nation. That's what's at stake in this fight. And we have to pledge and promise. When you think of that rabbit, if there is a worker anywhere in New York State who is confused or disheartened or terrified by the misinformation and the threats and the bullying, then the AFSCME team will be there to educate and to mobilize. And we have to pledge, whether it's our own member or unorganized workers who we want to bring into our ranks, if there are workers anywhere in New York who have the heart and the backbone to stand up for themselves, then the AFSCME team will be there to organize them into a fighting force. And sisters and brothers, when we build that fighting force, if we build it strong,